Linda Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she pushed her cleaning cart down the empty hallway. The luxury district of Nexus Station gleamed under bright lights, so different from the cramped human quarters where she lived with her son. Danny. It was past midnight, and most of the wealthy aliens who shopped here during the day had gone home to their comfortable rooms. She stopped at the next shop window and began spraying the glass with cleaning solution. Her reflection stared back at her, tired brown eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, and the same faded blue uniform she had worn for 3 years. At 34, Linda felt much older, working 3 different cleaning jobs just to pay rent and buy food for Danny. Left little time for sleep. The expensive restaurants and jewelry stores around her might as well have been on another planet. Linda had never eaten at any of these places. A single meal here would cost more than she made in a week. But the work paid better than cleaning in the human district, even if her supervisor, Mr. Chung, warned her daily about staying out of sight. Humans belong in human areas, he always said. The customers don't want to see you. Linda finished the window and moved to the next one. Her stomach growled loudly. She had skipped dinner again to save money. Danny needed new shoes for school, and the medical clinic wanted payment for his last checkup. Every credit mattered. A strange sound came from the alley behind the Golden Claw restaurant. Linda paused, listening. It sounded like someone coughing or crying. She looked around the empty street. Security cameras watched from every corner, but no guards patrolled this area at night. The wealthy aliens felt safe here, protected by the station's reputation. Linda knew she should keep working. Getting caught in an unauthorized area would mean losing her job. But the sound came again, weaker this time. Someone was in trouble. She pushed her cart toward the alley entrance. The smell of expensive food mixed with garbage hit her nose. Behind the restaurant's back door, she saw a large shape huddled against the wall. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, Linda gasped. It was a dragon. The creature was enormous, even sitting down. Her scales were a dull green color, not the bright emerald Linda had seen on the wealthy dragons who shopped here. This dragon looked old and sick. Her breathing was shallow, and her eyes were closed. Torn clothing hung from her thin frame. Linda had never been this close to a dragon before. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, ruling a vast empire of star systems. Most dragons she had seen from a distance wore expensive robes and jewelry. This one looked like she had not eaten in days. Other aliens had walked past the alley entrance while Linda watched. A group of bird-like avians glanced at the dragon and kept walking. 2 robots rolled by without stopping. Even other dragons had passed by, their heads turned away as if they could not see the suffering creature. Linda stepped closer. The dragon's eyes opened slowly. They were a deep gold color, like coins. The dragon tried to sit up straighter, but winced in pain. Are you hurt? Linda asked in Basic, the common language used throughout the station. The dragon stared at her for a long moment. You can see me, she said in a weak voice. Her accent was unlike any Linda had heard before, with rolling sounds that reminded her of distant thunder. Of course I can see you. Are you hurt? Do you need help? Help? The dragon's laugh turned into a cough. No one helps old dragons who have nothing to give. Linda looked at the dragon's thin face and sunken eyes. She thought about Danny at home, probably having another nightmare about the bullies at school. She thought about the money she needed for his shoes and the food she had skipped. Then she looked at this creature who seemed so lost and alone. Linda opened her small lunch bag. Inside was a sandwich she had planned to eat during her break and a bottle of water. She held them out to the dragon. Here, you look hungry. The dragon stared at the simple food as if Linda was offering her precious gems. I cannot pay you. I'm not asking for payment. You need food." With shaking hands, the dragon took the sandwich. She ate it slowly, savoring each bite. Linda watched as tears formed in those golden eyes. "What is your name?" the dragon asked. "Linda Martinez? What's yours?" "I am ... double quotes." The dragon paused. "You may call me Vera." "Nice to meet you, Vera. How long have you been out here?" "Several days. I became separated from my traveling companions. I have nowhere to go and no way to contact anyone who might help." Linda felt a familiar ache in her chest. She knew what it felt like to be alone and desperate. When she first arrived at Nexus Station with baby Danny, she had spent nights sleeping in maintenance tunnels because she could not afford proper housing. "You can't stay here," Linda said. "It gets cold at night and the security drones patrol." The alleys. She looked around and spotted a maintenance shed near the restaurant's waste disposal unit. The door was unlocked. Inside were cleaning supplies and empty boxes. "This might be warmer," Linda said, helping Vera stand. The dragon was heavier than she looked, but Linda managed to guide her to the shed. Linda arranged some empty boxes to make a soft place to sit. She took off her jacket, a thin thing that barely kept her warm, and wrapped it around Vera's shoulders. "I have to go back to work," Linda said, "but I'll try to bring you something tomorrow night." "Why?" Vera asked. "Why are you helping me? You are human. I am dragon. Our species have no friendship treaty." Linda shrugged. "You needed help. That's enough." The next evening, Linda returned with another sandwich and a cup of hot soup from the station's cheapest cafeteria. Vera was still in the shed, looking a little stronger. They talked while Vera ate. Linda learned that Vera came from a distant planet and had been traveling when her ship had problems. Vera asked about Linda's life and listened with interest to stories about Danny. On the third night, Linda brought medicine for Vera's cough. It cost her an hour's wages, but the dragon was getting sicker. Linda also brought an old blanket from home, one of only 2 she owned. "Your kindness honors you," Vera said, wrapping herself in the blanket. "On my world, we have sayings about those who help strangers. You have the heart of a noble." Linda laughed. "I'm just a cleaning lady, Vera. Nothing noble about me." "You are wrong," Vera said quietly. "True nobility comes from actions, not birth." By the 4th night, Linda was exhausted. Working extra hours to afford food for both her family and Vera was taking its toll. Mr. Chun had already warned her twice about looking tired during her shifts. Danny had asked why she was never home for dinner anymore, but when Linda saw Vera's face light up at her arrival, she knew she could not stop helping. The dragon was getting better, and more importantly, she no longer looked so desperately alone. Linda did not know that several other dragons had begun watching the alley from a distance. She did not see the expensive hovercars that occasionally drove slowly past the restaurant. She had no idea that her simple acts of kindness were being observed by creatures who commanded fleets of starships. All Linda knew was that Vera needed help, and helping felt like the right thing to do, even if it meant going hungry herself, even if it risked her job, even if it made no sense to anyone else. Some things were more important than being practical. Her mother had taught her that, back on Earth, before the sickness took her. Linda passed that lesson on to Danny every day, and now she was showing it to a lonely dragon in an alley behind a restaurant. Linda had no way of knowing that this simple choice would soon change everything. 2 weeks had passed since Linda first found Vera in the alley. What started as a simple act of kindness had grown into something more. Every night after her cleaning shift, Linda would visit the maintenance shed with food and company. The dragon was getting stronger, but she seemed in no hurry to leave. Linda learned that Vera was a wonderful storyteller. While she ate the simple meals Linda brought, she would speak about her homeland. She described crystal cities that floated among the clouds and vast libraries carved into mountain sides. Her voice would become warm and musical when she talked about the festivals where young dragons would dance in the sky. On the night of 7 moons, Vera said one evening, the sky turns purple and silver. Dragons gather in the great plaza to share songs that have been passed down for thousands of years. The music can be heard across 3 valleys. Linda closed her eyes and tried to imagine such a beautiful sight. It sounds amazing. Do you miss it? Vera's expression grew sad. More than you can know. But those days feel very far away now. In return, Linda told Vera about Earth. She described the small farm where she grew up, with fields of corn that stretched to the horizon. She talked about her grandmother's apple pie and the way snow looked falling on pine trees. She showed Vera pictures of Danny on her old tablet. He looks like you, Vera said, studying the photo of the 8-year-old boy. He has your kind eyes. He's everything to me, Linda said. I just want to give him a better life than I had. What happened to his father? Linda was quiet for a moment. He left when Danny was 2, said he never wanted to be a parent. It's been just me and Danny ever since. Vera reached out with one large, scaled hand and gently touched Linda's shoulder. You are both mother and father to him. That is not easy, but you do it with love. That makes you stronger than any warrior. Linda felt tears in her eyes. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. As the days passed, Vera began teaching Linda about dragon culture. She showed her how to make a proper greeting by placing her hands together and bowing slightly. She taught her basic words in the dragon language, which sounded like music mixed with the rumbling of distant thunder. This word means friend, Vera said, making a series of complex sounds. And this one means honor. In my culture, these 2 words often go together. Linda practiced the pronunciation, making Vera laugh when she got the tones wrong. Your accent is terrible, Vera said with a smile, but your effort is beautiful. Linda also shared human customs with Vera. She brought ingredients from the human market and showed Vera how to make simple earth foods. They made sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly, which Vera found surprisingly delicious. Humans put fruit preserves with ground nuts? Vera asked, taking another bite. This is strange but good. Wait until I show you how to make hot chocolate, Linda said. But Linda's life was getting harder. Her main employer, a cleaning company that serviced the business district, had cut her hours. They said new automated systems could do the work faster and cheaper. Linda was now working only 3 days a week for them instead of 5 to make up for the lost income. She took on extra shifts, cleaning the dangerous industrial areas of the station. The air there was thick with chemical fumes, and the work was harder. But it paid more per hour, and Linda needed every credit she could earn. Danny had started asking questions about why his mother was always tired, and why they were eating the same cheap noodles every night. Linda tried to hide her worries from him, but 8-year-old children notice more than adults think they do. Mom, are we poor? Danny asked one morning as Linda packed his lunch. We're doing fine, sweetheart, Linda said, but she could not meet his eyes. She had been saying the same thing for months. Jimmy's mom says humans don't belong on this station. She says we should go back to Earth. Linda stopped packing the lunch and knelt down to Danny's level. What do you think about that? Danny shrugged. I don't remember Earth. This is home. That's right. This is our home, and we belong here just as much as anyone else. But Linda's words felt hollow. Most aliens on the station treated humans like second-class citizens. They got the worst jobs, lived in the smallest apartments, and their children attended underfunded schools. Sometimes Linda wondered if Jimmy's mother was right. One evening, Linda arrived at Vera's shed, looking more tired than usual. Vera noticed immediately. "You are working too hard," Vera said. "I can see it in your face." "I'm fine," Linda said, but as she sat down, she swayed slightly. "When did you last eat a full meal?" Linda could not remember. She had been giving most of her food to Vera and Danny, keeping only small portions for herself. "I had some crackers this morning." Vera's golden eyes flashed with something that might have been anger. "You cannot care for others if you do not care for yourself." "I don't have a choice," Linda said. "Danny needs new shoes. The school wants money for supplies. The medical clinic is threatening to cut off our service if I don't pay the bill." "What? About help from other humans?" Linda laughed bitterly. "Everyone's struggling. We all compete for the same bad jobs. There's no help coming." Vera was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke carefully. "What if I told you there might be ways to improve your situation? I have learned much about how this station operates." "What do you mean?" "Your supervisor, Mr. Chun. He has been cheating workers out of proper pay. There are laws about this, but most humans do not know their rights." Linda stared at Vera. "How do you know about Mr. Chun?" "I observe. I listen. I have lived a long time and learned to pay attention." Vera's voice had a different quality now, more confident and commanding. "You should file a complaint with the station's labor office. They must investigate. They won't listen to a human complaint against an alien supervisor. They will if you present the right evidence in the right way." Over the next hour, Vera explained exactly what Linda needed to do. Her knowledge of station politics and legal procedures was remarkably detailed for someone who claimed to be a stranded refugee. Linda followed Vera's advice and filed the complaint. To her shock, the labor office took it seriously. Within a week, Mr. Chun was forced to pay back wages to Linda and several other human workers. Her income increased by 20% almost overnight. "How did you know that would work?" Linda asked Vera. "Lucky guess," Vera said, but there was something in her eyes that suggested it was more than luck. Strange things had been happening around Vera lately. Linda had noticed other dragons occasionally walking past the alley, always alone and always. At night, they would stop at the entrance, bow deeply toward the maintenance shed, and then leave quickly. When Linda asked Vera about it, she would change the subject. Also, the security guards, who usually hassled anyone loitering in the luxury district, seemed to avoid the area around the restaurant. Linda had expected to be caught by now, but her late-night visits continued without interference. One night, Linda brought her tablet to show Vera pictures of Earth. As they looked at photos of mountains and oceans, Linda noticed tears in Vera's eyes. "Are you okay? Your world is beautiful," Vera said. "So much blue and green. My world has more red and gold, but the colors of life are the same everywhere. Maybe someday you'll get to visit Earth." "Maybe someday you will visit my world," Vera replied. "I would like to show you the floating cities. I'm just a cleaning lady, Vera. I'll never leave this station." Vera turned to look directly at Linda. "You are not just anything. You have shown me more kindness than I received from my own family in years. You feed me when you are hungry. You comfort me when you are tired. You give me hope when you have every reason to despair." Linda felt uncomfortable with the praise. Anyone would do the same. "No," Vera said firmly, "they would not. I have lived long enough to know the difference between common decency and true compassion. What you have shown me is rare and precious." That night, as Linda walked home through the empty corridors of the human district, she thought about Vera's words. She had never considered herself special. She was just doing what felt right. But lately, Linda had noticed changes in herself. Talking with Vera each night gave her something to look forward to. The dragon's stories and wisdom made her problems feel less overwhelming. For the first time in years, Linda felt like she had a real friend She did not know that in the luxury district, 3 dragons in expensive robes had just finished a quiet meeting with the station commander. She did not know that her acts of kindness had already traveled far beyond Nexus Station, carried by messages sent through the galaxy's fastest communication networks. Linda Martinez, the cleaning lady who thought she was nobody special, had no idea that she was about to become the most important human in the galaxy. The first sign that something was different came on a Tuesday evening. Linda was walking toward Vera's shed with a container of soup when she saw 2 dragons in expensive purple robes standing at the alley entrance. They were speaking in low voices, their heads bowed respectfully toward the maintenance shed. When they noticed Linda approaching, both dragons immediately straightened and walked away quickly. Linda thought it was strange, but dragons were known for their odd customs. Maybe they were paying respects to some religious site she did not know about, but then it happened again on Thursday. This time it was 3 dragons, all wearing the kind of jewelry that cost more than Linda made in a year. They stood at the alley entrance for several minutes, speaking in the ancient dragon language. When Linda got closer, she could hear them, saying the same phrase over and over. "Long live the Empress Mother," they whispered. "Long live the Empress Mother." Linda froze. Empress Mother? She looked toward the shed where Vera was waiting for her daily visit. Vera, the old dragon who ate peanut butter sandwiches and listened to stories about Earth farms. Vera, who claimed to be a lost refugee with no family to contact. When Linda entered the shed, Vera was sitting exactly where she always sat, wrapped in the thin blanket Linda had given her weeks ago. "Good evening, Linda," Vera said with her usual warm smile. "What did you bring tonight?" "Vegetable soup and some bread," Linda replied, but her voice sounded strange even to herself. "Vera, I need to ask you something." "Of course." "Those dragons outside. They were saying something about an Empress Mother. Do you know what that means?" Vera's golden eyes flickered for just a moment before she answered. Empress Mother is a title of great respect in dragon culture. Perhaps they were discussing politics. It was not exactly a lie, but Linda sensed there was more to it. She decided to let it go for now. Over the next few days, the strange incidents continued. Security guards who normally questioned every human in the luxury district now nodded politely when they saw Linda. The restaurant owner who used to complain about her cleaning cart parked near his back door suddenly started leaving small containers of expensive food by the dumpster. Most puzzling of all, Linda noticed that the area around Vera's shed was always clean. The usual litter that blew through the alleys was gone each morning. Fresh flowers appeared in small pots near the entrance. Someone was taking very good care of the space, but Linda never saw who. Linda tried to research what she had overheard, using the public computer terminal in the Human District Library. She searched for information about dragon nobility and found references to the Draconic Stellar Empire, one of the most powerful governments in the known galaxy. The empire was ruled by Emperor Thrakus Scaleheart, and his mother held the honorary title of Empress Mother. But when Linda searched for pictures or names of the imperial family, most of the information was restricted. The few images she found showed dragons in elaborate ceremonial dress, their faces partially hidden by golden masks. She could not tell if any of them looked like Vera. The breakthrough came by accident. Linda was working her evening shift in the business district when she overheard 2 alien traders talking near the coffee shop. "I heard the search teams found nothing in the Centauri system," one said. 3 weeks now since the Empress Mother's ship went missing," replied the other. "The Emperor is offering a fortune to anyone with information, probably pirates. They would hold her for ransom, or kill her to strike at the Empire. She was traveling with minimal security." Linda's hands shook as she continued wiping down tables. Empress Mother. Missing ship. 3 weeks ago was exactly when she had found Vera in the alley. That night, Linda arrived at the shed with her mind racing. Vera greeted her as always, but Linda studied her face more carefully. Beneath the dirt and exhaustion, there was something regal about the way Vera held herself. Her voice, even when weak, had the tone of someone used to being obeyed. "Vera," Linda said carefully, "tell me about your family. I told you I am alone in the galaxy. But you must have had family once. Parents, siblings, children?" Vera was quiet for a long time. "I had a son once. We disagreed about many things. He thought I was too soft, too willing to trust others. I thought he was too hard, too quick to see enemies everywhere. Do you miss him?" "Every day. But some bridges are difficult to rebuild." Linda wanted to ask more questions, but something in Vera's expression stopped her. Instead, she shared the soup she had brought and listened to Vera's stories about the crystal cities. But Linda's curiosity was growing stronger than her caution. The next day, she used her lunch break to visit the station's information center. She told the clerk she was researching dragon culture for her son's school project. The clerk, a friendly blue-skinned alien, was happy to help. She showed Linda basic information about dragon society, their customs, and their government structure. "The Draconic Empire is fascinating," the clerk said. "They have ruled for over 2,000 years. The current emperor took power 50 years ago when his father died. What about his mother?" "Ah, yes, the Empress Mother. She is quite famous for her charitable work and her efforts to improve relations with other species. Very unusual for traditional dragon nobility." The clerk pulled up a news article on her screen. In fact, there was just a story about her visiting outer colonies to inspect living conditions. She has been advocating for better treatment of non-dragon citizens. Linda stared at the screen. The article was 3 weeks old. The headline read, "Empress Mother begins goodwill tour of frontier systems." "Is there a picture of her?" Linda asked. The royal family rarely allows detailed photographs. But ... The clerk searched through several files. "Here is an official portrait from last year's Unity Day celebration." The image showed a dragon in elaborate golden robes standing beside Emperor Thrakus. Her face was partially covered by a ceremonial veil, but Linda could see her eyes. Golden eyes, exactly like Vera's. Linda's heart pounded. She thanked the clerk and walked back to work in a daze. Everything made sense now. The respectful dragons, the improved treatment from station staff, the mysterious caretaking of the alley. They all knew who Vera really was. But why had Vera lied to her? And why was the most powerful dragon in the galaxy living in a maintenance shed, eating peanut butter sandwiches? That evening, Linda decided to confront Vera directly. She found the dragon sitting in her usual spot, but tonight she looked different. More alert, more watchful. "Linda," Vera said before Linda could speak, "we need to talk." "Yes, we do. I know who you are." Vera nodded slowly. "I wondered when you would figure it out. You are too intelligent to be fooled forever. Why did you lie to me?" "I did not lie about the important things. I am alone. I was abandoned by those I trusted. I did need your help." Vera's voice was sad but steady. "I simply did not tell you my title." "Your title?" "You're the Empress Mother of the Draconic Empire. You could buy this entire station with your pocket change. Titles and wealth mean nothing when you are bleeding in an alley, forgotten by your own people." Linda sat down across from Vera, her mind still spinning. "What really happened to you?" Vera was quiet for a moment, then began to speak. "I was traveling to the frontier systems to investigate reports of mistreatment toward non-dragon citizens. My son, the Emperor, thought such trips were unnecessary. He believes that showing too much concern for lesser species makes us look weak." "Lesser species?" "That is how many dragons think. I disagree, but I am only one voice, even if it carries the title of Empress Mother." Vera continued her story. My ship was attacked near the Centauri system. My guards were killed, and I barely escaped in a damaged shuttle. I crashed on an asteroid mining platform and managed to get passage to this station, but I had no identification, no money, no way to prove who I was. Why didn't you contact the Empire? I tried, but without proper credentials, no one would believe that a dirty, injured dragon was the Empress Mother. And there were other problems. What kind of problems? Vera's eyes grew hard. The attack on my ship was too precise, too well planned. Someone with inside knowledge had given information to the pirates. Someone wanted me dead or missing. Linda felt a chill. You think someone in your own government tried to kill you? I think there are those who would prefer an Empress Mother who stays silent about uncomfortable truths. My investigations were revealing things that powerful dragons wanted to keep hidden. But your son, the Emperor ... My son loves me, but he is surrounded by advisors who whisper that I am a liability. They say my sympathy for non-dragons weakens. The Empire. Vera's voice cracked slightly. When I went missing, I expected massive search efforts. Instead, I have been hiding in this alley for weeks, and the only person who showed me kindness was a human cleaning lady. Linda stared at Vera, seeing her in an entirely new light. So what happens now? Do you contact your son? I have been thinking about that question every day. If I reveal myself, whoever tried to kill me might try again. But if I stay hidden, I cannot help the people I came here to protect. Before Linda could respond, they both heard the sound of heavy footsteps in the alley. Multiple sets of footsteps, moving with military precision. Vera's eyes widened in alarm. They have found. The footsteps stopped just outside the shed. A deep voice called out in the ancient dragon language. The next morning, Linda woke to the sound of alarms echoing through Nexus Station. She looked out her small apartment window and gasped. The space around the station was filled with warships. Massive dragon vessels hung in the darkness like sleeping. Giants, their hulls gleaming with imperial symbols. Danny pressed his face against the window beside her. Mom, why are there so many ships? Linda did not know how to answer. How could she explain that she had been helping the most important dragon in the galaxy without knowing it? I think someone very important has come to visit the station. The station's communication system crackled to life. All residents remain in your quarters until further notice. This station is now under Imperial protection by order of Emperor Thrakus Scaleheart. Linda's hands shook as she made breakfast. For Danny, Imperial protection meant martial law. Dragon soldiers would be patrolling every corridor, checking every room. What would they do when they learned about her connection to Vera? An hour later, there was a knock at her door. Linda opened it to find 2 dragon guards in golden armor standing in the hallway. Behind them was a smaller dragon wearing the robes of an Imperial messenger. Linda Martinez? The messenger asked. Yes. By order of Empress Mother Viridian Scaleheart, you are requested to attend an audience in the Imperial suite. Linda's legs felt weak. Viridian Scaleheart. That was Vera's real name. What about my son? The child may accompany you. You are. Oath under Imperial protection. The walk through the station was like nothing Linda had ever experienced. Dragon soldiers stood at every intersection, their weapons gleaming. Other residents watched from doorways with fear and confusion. Linda had never seen the station so quiet and tense. The Imperial suite occupied the entire top level of the luxury district. Linda and Danny were escorted through corridors lined with golden tapestries and crystal sculptures. Danny stayed close to his mother, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. They were brought to a large room with windows that looked out at the dragon fleet. Vera sat on a chair that looked more like a throne, wearing robes of deep green silk. Her transformation was complete. This was not the tired refugee Linda had helped in the alley. This was Empress Mother Viridian Scaleheart, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. But when Vera saw Linda, her formal expression softened. "Linda, thank you for coming. Did I have a choice?" Vera smiled sadly. "You always have choices. That is what makes you remarkable." Another dragon entered the room, and Linda knew immediately who he was. Emperor Thrakis Scaleheart was enormous, even by dragon standards. His scales were deep red mixed with gold, and his eyes burned with authority and barely controlled anger. He wore a crown that seemed to be made of captured starlight. "Mother," he said, his voice like distant thunder. "This is the human?" "This is Linda Martinez," Vera replied, "the woman who saved my life." The Emperor studied Linda with an expression she could not read. "You helped my mother when she was in disguise." "I helped an old woman who needed food and shelter," Linda said carefully. "I didn't know who she was." "And if you had known?" Linda thought about the question. "I would have helped her anyway. People need help sometimes, no matter who they are." Something flickered in the Emperor's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "My mother tells me you gave her your own food when you were hungry. She was hungrier than I was. She says you risked your job to visit her every night. She was alone. No one should be alone." The Emperor walked closer to Linda, his massive form casting a shadow over her and Danny. "Do you understand what you have done? You have aided the Empress Mother of the Draconic Empire. This creates obligations, debts that must be repaid." Linda felt Danny press closer to her side. "I don't want payment. I was just helping a friend." "Friend." The Emperor repeated the word as if it tasted strange. "My mother used that word to describe you. It has been many years since she called anyone friend." Farah stood from her throne and moved to stand beside Linda. "Thrakis, this woman has shown me more genuine kindness than I have received from our own court in decades. She represents everything good about her species." "Her species," the Emperor said coldly, "is weak and primitive. They have no real power, no significant technology, no unified government. What can humans offer the Empire?" Linda felt anger rising in her chest. "We offer the same thing any species offers. We have families we love, work we take pride in, dreams for our children. We're not as different as you think." "You dare speak to the Emperor with such boldness?" asked a new voice. Another dragon had entered the room, wearing robes marked with symbols of military rank. "Humans should show proper respect to their betters." "General Korath," Vara said sharply, "Linda is my guest." "With respect, Empress Mother, this situation is becoming problematic. Word is spreading throughout the station about your association with this human. There are those who question whether such relationships are appropriate for the imperial family." Linda saw the political trap closing around them. Her simple act of kindness was becoming a source of conflict within the dragon. "Government, what kind of problems?" she asked. General Korath looked at her with obvious distaste. "Anti-human groups are using this story to claim that humans are manipulating dragon leadership. They say you deliberately sought out the Empress Mother to gain influence." "That's ridiculous. I didn't even know who she was." "Truth matters less than perception in politics," the general replied. "There are also concerns about security. How do we know you are not working for enemies of the Empire?" Emperor Thrakis held up a hand for silence. "Enough. Mother, what do you propose we do about this situation?" Vera looked at Linda, then at her son. "I propose we tell the truth." Linda Martinez showed compassion to someone in need, without thought of reward or recognition. "If the Empire cannot honor such virtue, then we have lost our way as a civilization. And if that truth creates more problems? If it encourages other humans to think they can approach imperial family members casually? Then perhaps it is time for the Empire to reconsider how it treats other species. The room fell silent. Linda could feel the tension between mother and son, between old ways and new possibilities. General Korath stepped forward. There is another complication, Your Majesty. Pro-human groups on several worlds are demanding that Linda Martinez be given special status as a symbol of human-dragon friendship. They want her appointed as an official ambassador. Linda's stomach dropped. I never asked for any of that. It doesn't matter what you asked for, the general said. You have become a symbol whether you want to be or not. Danny tugged on Linda's hand. Mom, what's an ambassador? Someone who speaks for their people to other governments, Linda explained quietly. Like a teacher? Sort of, sweetheart. Emperor Thrakus was studying Linda and Danny with new interest. The child understands politics better than most adults. Tell me, young human, what do you think of dragons? Danny looked up at the massive emperor without fear. You're really big and kind of scary, but your mom is nice. She likes peanut butter sandwiches. Despite the tension in the room, Vera laughed. Yes, I do. Your mother taught me to appreciate human food. The emperor's expression softened slightly as he looked at his mother. She has changed since her return. She seems happier. I found something I had lost, Vera said. Hope that different species can understand each other. General Korath cleared his throat. Your Majesty, we need to make a decision. The station is under martial law, but we cannot maintain this situation indefinitely. Other governments are asking questions about our military presence here. Linda realized that her simple friendship with Vera had created a crisis that could affect the entire galaxy. Dragons who believed in tradition against those who wanted change. Humans who saw her as a symbol against those who feared dragon power. And in the middle, a mother and son who disagreed about the future of their empire. I have a suggestion, Linda said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She took a deep breath, knowing that her next words could change everything. Let me choose. Ver Empress Mother. You saved my life too. Before I met you, I felt hopeless and alone. You gave me a friend when I needed one most. You showed me that kindness matters, even between strangers from different worlds. She looked at the Emperor. I don't want to be a symbol or cause problems for your family. But I also don't want to pretend that our friendship doesn't matter. So let me decide what I'm willing to do. And what would you choose? Emperor Thrakus asked. Linda looked at Vera, at Danny, at the powerful dragons surrounding them. She thought about her small apartment in the human district, her cleaning jobs, and her simple dreams for her son's future. I choose to stand with my friend, she said, whatever that means, whatever it costs. Vera showed me that being noble isn't about titles or power. It's about doing the right thing when it matters. Vera's golden eyes filled with tears. Even knowing the dangers? Even knowing that some will hate you for it? Even then. Emperor Thrakus stared at Linda for a long moment. Then, slowly, he began to smile. Mother, I think I am beginning to understand what you see in humans. But General Korath stepped forward again. Your Majesty, if we proceed with this, there will be consequences. Conservative factions will demand action. Other species will expect similar treatment. The entire political structure of the empire could be affected. 3 days later, Linda stood on a platform in the station's main plaza, looking out at thousands of creatures from dozens of different species. News reporters from across the galaxy had come to hear her speak. The simple cleaning lady who had helped the Empress Mother was about to address the galaxy. Linda's hands shook as she held the speech she had written. Beside her, Vera offered an encouraging smile. Emperor Thrakus stood nearby, his expression unreadable. In the front row, Danny sat with a dragon child about his age, both of them drawing pictures together. I never wanted to be famous, Linda began, her voice carrying through the translation devices to every species present. I just wanted to help someone who needed help. 3 weeks ago, I found an old woman in an alley who was hungry and alone. I gave her a sandwich and a blanket. That's all. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens nodded in understanding. Others looked skeptical. I didn't know she was the Empress Mother. I didn't know she could command fleets of starships or change laws across the galaxy. I just knew she needed a friend. Linda paused, looking directly at the cameras. Every day, all of us walk past people who need help. Most of the time, we tell ourselves that someone else will help them, or that we're too busy, or that it's not our problem. Linda thought about her own life before meeting Vera, working 3 jobs, barely making ends meet, feeling invisible to the wealthy aliens who lived in the luxury district. I learned something important from my friend Vera. It doesn't matter what species you are, what planet you come from, or how much money you have. When someone is suffering, the right thing to do is help them. Not because they might reward you later, but because it's the right thing to do. In the crowd, Linda saw humans crying. She saw dragons nodding thoughtfully. Even some of the stern-faced military officers seemed moved by her words. People ask me what humans can offer the galaxy. They say we're weak, that we have no advanced technology, that we're not important. Linda's voice grew stronger. But I think our greatest strength is something that can't be measured in warships or weapons. We believe that every life has value. We believe in helping each other, even when it's hard. Emperor Thrakus stepped forward to the microphone. 3 days ago, I thought this human was a security risk to my family. I was wrong. Linda Martinez has shown me something I had forgotten. True strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the courage to help. The Emperor's words were translated across the galaxy in real time. On dragon worlds, traditionalist nobles watched with shock as their ruler praised a human. On human colonies, families gathered around screens to hear their species being honored by the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Today, I announce the Kindness Accords, the Emperor continued. These new laws will protect refugees and displaced persons throughout the empire, regardless of their species. They will require all imperial citizens to provide aid to those in need, following the example set by Linda Martinez. The crowd erupted in cheers and protests. Some aliens celebrated the progressive change. Others shouted that humans were gaining too much influence. Security guards moved to maintain order. Vera stepped to the microphone next. I have lived for over 200 years. I have seen wars between species, treaties signed and broken, empires rise and fall. But in a maintenance shed behind a restaurant, a human cleaning lady taught me something that all my years of experience had not. She taught me that kindness is the most powerful force in the universe. After the ceremony, Linda found herself in a small meeting room with Vera and the Emperor. The crowds and cameras were gone. It was just 3 beings who had somehow become connected across the vast differences in their lives. What happens now? Linda asked. Now you choose your future. Vera replied, the Empire owes you a great debt. We can offer you wealth, status, a position in the imperial court. Linda shook her head. I don't want wealth or status. Then what do you want? Emperor Thrakus asked. Linda thought about Danny, about the other human families struggling on the station, about all the species that were treated as less important than others. I want to make sure this actually changes things. Not just laws on paper, but real change in how people treat each other. Vera smiled. I hoped you would say that. We have a proposition for you. Over the next hour, they outlined a plan that was bigger than anything Linda had imagined. She would become the first interspecies compassion coordinator, traveling to different worlds to help establish programs that brought species together. The position came with resources, protection, and the authority to investigate discrimination anywhere in the Empire. You would be based on the capital world, the Emperor explained. Danny would attend the Imperial Academy alongside dragon children and others from across the galaxy. You would have a team of advisors from multiple species. But I'm just a cleaning. Lady, Linda protested. I don't know anything about running government programs. You know the most important thing, Vera said. You know how to see someone who needs help and actually help them. Everything else can be learned. Linda looked out the window at the dragon fleet surrounding the station. A week ago, she had been invisible, just another struggling human trying to survive. Now she was being offered a chance to influence how billions of beings treated each other. There's something else, Vera added quietly. The investigation into the attack on my ship has revealed that General Korath was involved. He and several other nobles were planning to remove me from influence because of my support for interspecies equality. What will happen to them? They will face justice. But more importantly, their actions have shown us how much work still needs to be done. There are those in every species who fear change, who prefer the old ways of suspicion and separation. Emperor Thrakus nodded grimly. Your work will not be easy, Linda Martinez. You will face opposition from those who believe in keeping species apart. Some will call you naive or dangerous. But you will also have allies, Vera added. Today's BROADCAST has already inspired similar acts of kindness on dozens of worlds. Dragons are helping human refugees. Humans are sharing food with stranded aliens. The story of what you did is spreading faster than any government message ever could. Linda thought about the choice before her. She could return to her quiet life, go back to cleaning offices, and raising Danny in the small apartment. It would be safe and familiar. Or she could step into a role that would put her at the center of galactic politics, trying to build bridges between species that had been suspicious of each other for centuries. Danny, she said suddenly. What does Danny think about all this? They brought Danny into the room. The 8-year-old boy had been playing with dragon children all afternoon, learning their games and teaching them human songs. Danny, how would you feel about living on a different planet and going to school with children from lots of different species? Danny's eyes lit up. That sounds amazing, Mom. Can I learn to speak dragon language? Among other things, Vera said with a smile. Will you come visit us? Danny asked Vera. As often as I can, little one. We are family now. Linda made her decision. All right, I'll do it. But I want to do it right. I want to visit every world, talk to every species, and make sure that the help actually reaches the people who need it. I would expect nothing less, the Emperor said. 6 months later, Linda stood in her new office on the Dragon Capital world, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The kindness accords were working, but slowly. Some worlds had embraced the changes enthusiastically. Others resisted. On her desk was a photo from Danny's school, showing children from 12 different species working on a project together. Beside it was a letter from a human colony where dragons had helped rebuild after a natural disaster. Next to that was a report about a dragon merchant who had been saved by bird-like aliens when his ship broke down. Small acts of kindness, each, one creating ripples that spread across the stars. Vera entered the office carrying 2 cups of tea. Despite her restored position and wealth, she still preferred simple things. How are the reports today? Mixed, Linda replied. Progress is slower than I hoped, but it's real progress. Change takes time, especially change this big. But it is happening. Linda nodded, looking out at the crystal city floating in the clouds. A year ago, she had been scrubbing floors on a space station, invisible to most of the galaxy. Now she was helping to reshape how entire civilizations thought about each other. Do you ever regret it? Vera asked. Giving up your quiet life? Linda thought about the question. Her work was harder than cleaning had ever been. She traveled constantly, faced political opposition, and carried the weight of expectations from billions of beings. But she also saw species learning to trust each other. She saw children growing up without the prejudices their parents had carried. She saw the galaxy slowly becoming a kinder place. "No," Linda said finally, "I don't regret it. Sometimes the right choice is the hard choice." Vera smiled and raised her teacup. "To friendship across the stars." "To friendship across the stars," Linda agreed. Outside their window, ships from dozens of different species moved peacefully through the capital's airspace. Dragons and humans worked side by side in the government buildings below. Children of multiple species played together in the floating gardens.